The massive space station floated like a shining city among the stars, bigger than anything humans had ever built. Ships from across the galaxy docked at its ports, bringing visitors that looked like something out of Earth's wildest dreams. Some were tall and thin like walking crystals, others looked like floating jellyfish made of pure light, and some were so strange that human eyes could barely understand what they were seeing. Captain James Rodriguez walked through the station's corridors with his teenage daughter Maya by his side. She kept stopping to stare at everything around them, her eyes wide with wonder. The walls themselves seemed alive, shifting colors as different alien species passed by. Strange music filled the air, not quite music as humans knew it, but something that made your heart beat faster anyway. "Dad, look at that one," Maya whispered, pointing at a creature that looked like a walking tree made of silver metal. Its branches swayed even though there was no wind in the space station. "Remember what we talked about?" James said quietly. "Don't point. It might be rude in their culture." Maya nodded but couldn't stop looking around. She had always been good with languages back on Earth, picking up Spanish, French, and even some Mandarin before she turned 16. Now she was trying to learn alien languages, though most of them didn't use sounds that human throats could make. The other alien delegates barely noticed the small human group. Humans were the newcomers here, the babies of galactic civilization. While other species had been traveling between stars for thousands of years, humans had only left their solar system a few decades ago. To these ancient beings, humans were like children who had just learned to walk. But today was different. Today, something was happening that had never happened before. Through the massive windows of the observation deck, everyone could see it, a creature so large it made the space station look like a toy. The Starborn dragon drifted through space like a living constellation, its body stretching longer than Earth's biggest cities. Its skin sparkled with what looked like captured starlight, and patterns of light moved across its surface like slow lightning. "How long has it been sleeping?" Maya asked, pressing her face against the cool window. "Nobody knows," said Dr. Angela Foster, Earth's leading expert on alien life. "Some say thousands of years. Others think it might be millions. It just drifts. Never responds to anyone." The dragon's eyes were closed, each one the size of a small moon. Its massive wings were folded against its body, and it moved through space with the slow grace of something dreaming. Every few hours it would change direction slightly, but no one had ever figured out why. Maya watched the dragon with the kind of attention other kids her age gave to their phones. There was something about it that made her feel strange, not scared but like she was looking at something important, something that mattered in a way she couldn't explain. "Why do you think it ignores everyone?" she asked. Her father shrugged. "Maybe it can't hear us. Maybe it doesn't want to. Or maybe we just don't know how to talk to something that old." All around them, the greatest minds from dozens of worlds were preparing for another attempt at contact. The crystal beings were arranging themselves into complex patterns, their bodies ringing like bells. The floating jellyfish creatures were glowing brighter and brighter, preparing to send light messages. Even the metal tree beings were swaying in unison, creating vibrations that humans could feel in their bones. Maya had read about all the previous attempts. Every species had tried their best communication methods. Some had used mathematics, thinking that numbers were universal. Others had tried music or light patterns, or even sending physical objects toward the dragon. Nothing had worked. The dragon continued its slow dance through space, beautiful and unreachable. "What if it's not ignoring them on purpose?" Maya said suddenly. "What if it's waiting for something specific?" Dr. Foster looked at her with interest. "What do you mean?" "Well, think about it. On Earth, some animals only respond to certain sounds or smells. Maybe the dragon is waiting for the right kind of message. Maybe all these advanced species are trying too hard." James smiled at his daughter. Even as a little girl, Maya had always seen things differently. While other kids played games, she would sit and watch ants or birds, trying to understand how they communicated with each other. Through the window, the dragon continued its eternal drift, magnificent and mysterious. Its presence filled everyone who saw it with a strange mix of awe and sadness. Here was something ancient and beautiful, and no one could reach it. But Maya kept watching, and something deep in her mind whispered that today might be different. The observation deck buzzed with excitement as the first species prepared to make contact. Maya pressed closer to the window, watching as the crystal beings called the Zephyrians moved into position. Their bodies looked like living diamonds, each one catching and bending light in impossible ways. When they moved together, it was like watching a chandelier come to life. "They're going first," Dr. Foster explained quietly to Maya and her father. "The Zephyrians have the most beautiful music in the galaxy. They once ended a war just by singing. The crystal beings began to glow from within, their bodies resonating with pure, clear notes that made the entire station vibrate. The sound was unlike anything Maya had ever heard, not quite music, not quite mathematics, but something that seemed to speak directly to her soul. The notes rose and fell in patterns so complex that human computers couldn't track them all. Through the window, everyone watched the Starborn dragon hopefully. The magnificent creature continued its slow drift through space, its closed eyes never flickering. The starlight patterns on its skin didn't change. It was as if the most beautiful music in the galaxy was simply empty space to the ancient being. After 30 minutes, the Zephyrians' song faded away. Their crystal bodies dimmed with disappointment. Next, announced the station coordinator, a being that looked like a walking storm cloud with eyes. The Moldari stepped forward, or rather flowed forward like living water. Maya had never seen anything like them. They seemed to be made of liquid rainbow, constantly shifting colors and shapes. When they communicated, they released clouds of scent that could tell entire stories. Their pheromone language is the most complex communication system ever discovered, Dr. Foster whispered. They can share memories, emotions, even dreams through smell. The Moldari began releasing clouds of chemicals into space through the station's specially designed ports. The scents were so intricate that even the station's advanced computers couldn't catalog them all. Maya caught hints of what smelled like flowers, rain, and something that reminded her of her grandmother's kitchen, all mixed with scents that had no Earth equivalent. But again the dragon remained unmoved. Its massive form continued gliding through the void as if nothing was happening. Species after species tried their best. The Keth, who looked like walking musical instruments made of living metal, created harmonies so powerful that nearby asteroids began vibrating in rhythm. The sound was so intense that humans had to wear special protective gear just to listen safely. Still nothing from the dragon. The Umbral Collective came next, beings of pure thought who rarely bothered with physical reality. They were invisible to human eyes, but everyone could feel their presence like a gentle pressure inside their minds. When they focused their combined consciousness on the dragon, every person on the station could sense the incredible mental power being directed at the ancient creature. Maya felt a strange tingling in her head as the thought beings tried to connect with the dragon's mind. It was like standing next to a massive radio tower, feeling energy crackling through the air. But even this incredible display of mental power got no response. "This is impossible," muttered Dr. Foster. "How can something alive ignore all of this?" Around them, delegates from dozens of worlds began murmuring to each other in their various languages. Maya didn't need translation devices to understand the tone. They were frustrated, disappointed, and starting to give up hope. "Maybe it really is dead," said one of the crystal beings, its voice like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. "A beautiful corpse floating through space," agreed a Moldari, its colors shifting to sad blues and grays. Maya noticed how the other species were looking at the human delegation now. Their expressions, or what passed for expressions on alien faces, were polite but dismissive. If the galaxy's most advanced civilizations couldn't reach the dragon, what possible hope did the youngest species have? Captain Rodriguez was setting up Earth's communication attempt, but Maya could see the doubt in his eyes. Human technology was like stone tools compared to what they just witnessed. Their quantum communication system was impressive by Earth standards, but it seemed primitive next to crystal songs and thought projection. "Dad," Maya said quietly, "what if they're all trying too hard?" "What do you mean, sweetheart?" Maya watched the dragon through the window, its ancient form serene and untouchable. "Back home when I couldn't get our old cat to come inside, remember what worked? Not calling loudly or shaking the treat bag. Just sitting quietly and letting him decide to come to me." Her father smiled sadly. "This is a bit different than calling a cat, Maya." But Maya kept watching the dragon, something stirring in her chest. All these incredible civilizations with their amazing technologies and ancient wisdom, and none of them had reached the creature. Maybe the problem wasn't that the dragon couldn't hear them. Maybe it simply chose not to listen. The question was, what would make it want to listen? The human delegation's turn had finally arrived. Captain Rodriguez stood before a wall of complex equipment, his hands moving across holographic displays as Earth's most advanced quantum communication array came online. The device hummed with energy, creating a soft blue glow that reflected off the observation deck's windows. "This is humanity's breakthrough technology," Dr. Foster explained to the watching alien delegates. "Quantum entanglement communication. We can send mathematical sequences faster than light itself." Maya could hear the doubt in her voice. After watching species with millions of years of advancement fail, their newest invention felt like bringing a flashlight to compete with stars. The other delegates watched politely but without much hope. Some had already begun moving away from the windows, convinced that the dragon was simply a beautiful but lifeless object drifting through space. While her father worked on calibrating the equipment, Maya found herself drawn back to the massive window. The Starborn dragon continued its endless dance through the void, magnificent and unreachable. Its scales caught the light from nearby stars, creating patterns that seemed almost like a slow, cosmic heartbeat. Without really thinking about it, Maya pressed her palm against the cool, transparent aluminum. The dragon was so massive that even from this distance, she could see the incredible detail of its ancient form. Each scale was the size of a building, and mysterious symbols seemed to shift and flow across its surface like living tattoos. Something about the creature made her feel peaceful, like looking at the ocean back home. Maya had always found comfort in vast, quiet things. While other kids her age were excited by loud music and bright lights, she preferred sitting by the lake behind her house, watching clouds drift across the sky. Standing there with her hand on the window, Maya began to hum softly. It wasn't planned or purposeful, just something that felt natural in the moment. The melody that came from her throat was simple and old, a lullaby her grandmother had sung to her when she was small. The same song had been passed down through generations of women in her family, from mother to daughter, carrying love and comfort across the years. The tune was nothing like the complex crystal harmonies or mathematical precision of the advanced species. It had no sophisticated pheromone patterns or telepathic power behind it. It was just a young human girl humming an ancient song, barely audible above the station's background noise. That's when it happened. The dragon's massive head began to turn. At first, Maya thought she was imagining it. The creature had been motionless for so long that any movement seemed impossible. But slowly, gracefully, like a mountain deciding to look in a new direction, the dragon's ancient head rotated toward the space station. "Oh my God," whispered Dr. Foster. All conversation on the observation deck stopped. Aliens who had been moving away from the windows rushed back, their various forms of eyes fixed on the incredible sight. The dragon's eyes, each one larger than Earth's biggest buildings, slowly opened for the first time in recorded history. Inside those enormous orbs, Maya could see what looked like swirling galaxies, as if the creature carried the cosmos itself within its gaze. Those ancient, star-filled eyes focused directly on her. Maya's humming caught in her throat. She felt like a mouse being observed by something infinitely vast and wise. But there was no fear in the dragon's gaze, only a deep, patient intelligence that seemed to see right through to her soul. Then, in a movement that made every being on the station hold their breath, the kilometer-long creature slowly, deliberately bowed its massive head toward the observation deck where Maya stood. The gesture was unmistakable, a greeting, an acknowledgement, perhaps even respect from something ancient beyond imagination to a 16-year-old girl from Earth. "That's impossible," breathed one of the crystal beings. "It hasn't moved in thousands of years." "The neural scans," shouted a technician from across the deck. "The dragon's brain activity is spiking. It's waking up." Captain Rodriguez abandoned his quantum communication array and rushed to his daughter's side. "Maya, what did you do?" She looked up at her father with wide eyes, her hand still pressed against the window. I was humming the song Grandma used to sing." Through the window, the dragon maintained its graceful bow, its star-filled eyes never leaving Maya's face. For the first time in millennia, the ancient guardian of the galaxy had acknowledged another living being. And it had chosen to acknowledge not the most advanced species, not the most powerful civilization, but a human teenager singing her grandmother's lullaby. The observation deck erupted into chaos as every alien delegate rushed to understand what had just happened. Scientists frantically worked their scanning equipment while diplomats argued in dozens of different languages. Some sounded like music, others like grinding metal, and a few made sounds that human ears couldn't even process properly. Maya stood frozen at the window, her heart pounding as the massive dragon continued to hold its bow toward her. Its ancient eyes, filled with swirling starlight, never left her face. She felt like she was looking into the deep ocean at night, vast and mysterious but somehow welcoming. "The quantum readings are off the charts," shouted Dr. Foster, staring at her handheld scanner. "The dragon's neural activity has increased by over 3,000%. It's not just awake, it's more active than we've ever seen any creature this size." Captain Rodriguez put a protective hand on his daughter's shoulder. "Maya, are you okay? Do you feel anything strange?" She nodded slowly, not taking her eyes off the dragon. "It's like it's listening now. Really listening for the first time." As if responding to her words, the dragon began to move with purpose. Instead of its previous aimless drifting, the ancient creature positioned itself deliberately near the human section of the space station. Its massive form blocked out the stars beyond, creating a living wall of shimmering scales and gentle light. The other species watched in amazement as patterns began flowing across the dragon's skin like slow lightning. Colors that had no names in any human language rippled from its head to its tail, deep purples that seemed to contain the darkness between stars, golds that burned brighter than suns, and blues that reminded Maya of Earth's deepest oceans. "It's trying to communicate," whispered Dr. Foster. "But not with mathematical sequences or pheromone patterns. It's using something else entirely." Maya found herself humming again, the same simple lullaby that had first caught the dragon's attention. As her voice rose and fell with the familiar melody, the colors on the dragon's scales seemed to pulse in rhythm with her song. "Look," she said excitedly. "When I sing higher notes, the blue colors get brighter. And when I go lower, the gold patterns spread out more." Dr. Foster quickly activated her recording equipment. "Keep singing, Maya. Whatever you're doing, it's working." As Maya continued her grandmother's lullaby, something incredible began to happen. The dragon started making sounds of its own, not the complex harmonics the other species had expected, but something much simpler. Deep, resonant notes that seemed to come from the creature's very soul, attempting to echo Maya's human song. The sound was like nothing anyone had ever heard. It was deeper than thunder, gentler than wind, and somehow filled with an emotion that transcended species barriers. Even the most advanced aliens found themselves moved by the dragon's tentative attempts to sing along. "By the 7 moons," breathed a crystal being. "It's learning her song." But as Maya continued singing, she began to notice something else in the dragon's responses. The creature wasn't just copying her melody, it was adding something to it. Layers of meaning that came through the shifting colors on its scales, emotions that seemed to flow directly into her mind. Images began forming in Maya's thoughts, not like memories but like dreams shared between friends. She saw vast stretches of space, countless stars being born and dying, civilizations rising and falling like waves on an endless shore. The dragon had watched it all, patient and alone, waiting for something it couldn't name. "It's been lonely," Maya said suddenly, tears forming in her eyes. "So lonely for so long." "What do you mean?" her father asked gently. Maya struggled to put the feelings into words. All these advanced species, they approach everything like it's a problem to solve. They use technology and complex communications, but they forgot how to just connect. The dragon wasn't ignoring them because it couldn't understand, it was ignoring them because they weren't really trying to understand it. As she spoke, more images flowed through her mind. The dragon showing her how other civilizations had approached it over the millennia, always with grand gestures, complex mathematics and sophisticated technologies. They treated it like a puzzle to be solved rather than a living being to be befriended. "Humans are different," Maya continued, her voice growing stronger. "We're still young enough to approach things with wonder instead of just knowledge. When I hummed to it, I wasn't trying to prove how smart we are. I was just sharing something beautiful." The dragon's colors shifted to warm golds and soft greens, and Maya somehow understood this meant happiness or maybe gratitude. Around them, the other delegates began to murmur among themselves, realizing that perhaps their technological advancement had cost them something precious, the simple ability to reach out with open hearts instead of calculating minds. For the first time in eons, the Starborn dragon had found someone who approached it not as a problem to be solved, but as a friend to be made. Over the following days, something beautiful began to unfold aboard the space station. Maya spent hours at the observation window, singing softly to the dragon while it responded with gentle light patterns across its massive scales. What started as simple melodies grew into something deeper, a conversation between two very different kinds of minds. The dragon's colors became a language Maya somehow understood without learning. Warm golds meant contentment, deep blues showed ancient memories, and soft greens expressed something like friendship. When she sang her grandmother's lullabies, the creature would pulse with gentle silver light that felt like cosmic laughter. "It's incredible," Dr. Foster said, watching her instruments track the exchange. "The dragon's brain patterns are synchronizing with Maya's emotional responses. They're not just communicating, they're actually connecting on a level we've never seen between different species." Captain Rodriguez watched his daughter with a mixture of pride and wonder. Maya had always been special, but seeing her bridge the gap between humanity and something ancient beyond imagination filled him with awe. As their bond deepened, the dragon began sharing more complex images through the shifting patterns on its scales. Maya saw the birth of the galaxy, when the first stars ignited and planets began forming in the cosmic darkness. She witnessed civilizations rising from primitive beginnings, developing technology, reaching for the stars, and then losing something essential along the way. "It's been watching over everyone," Maya explained to the gathered delegates, who now hung on her every word. Like a guardian making sure younger species had a chance to grow. But as civilizations got more advanced, they stopped approaching the universe with wonder. They started seeing everything as something to be conquered or understood completely, rather than experienced. The dragon showed her images of how the various species had been when they were younger. The crystal beings once sang not complex mathematical harmonies, but simple songs of joy. The Moldari had created sense of pure emotion rather than intricate informational patterns. Even the thought beings had once reached out with curiosity instead of analytical probing. "We all did this," admitted an elderly crystal delegate, its voice chiming with sadness. "As we became more powerful, we forgot how to simply be present with something beautiful." The dragon's response came as waves of understanding color, not judgment but patient hope. It had been waiting not for the most advanced species to solve the puzzle of communication, but for someone still young enough to approach with genuine wonder. Through Maya's translations, the dragon began teaching all the assembled species about something they had nearly forgotten. True connection across the cosmos required more than intelligence or technology. It needed the willingness to be vulnerable, to reach out without knowing exactly what you would find. "On Earth we have a saying," Maya told the gathering. "You have to meet someone where they are, not where you think they should be." She gestured toward the dragon, whose scales now showed constantly shifting patterns of warm, welcoming light. It wasn't hiding from us. It was waiting for someone to approach it as a friend instead of a problem to solve. The lessons that emerged changed everything. The crystal beings remembered how to sing songs of pure emotion rather than mathematical perfection. The Moldari began creating scents that expressed wonder and joy instead of just complex information. The thought beings learned to touch minds with gentle curiosity rather than analytical precision. Most remarkably, other young civilizations began arriving at the station. Word had spread across the galaxy that humanity had achieved something unprecedented, and species that were still early in their development wanted to learn. Maya found herself teaching not just alien languages, but something more important, how to approach the unknown with open hearts. The dragon seemed to delight in meeting these younger species. Its scales would dance with excited colors when new ships arrived, and it would bow gracefully to each delegation, especially those that approached it with simple songs or genuine curiosity rather than complex technologies. "You know what's amazing?" Maya said to her father one evening, as they watched the dragon perform what looked like a slow, graceful dance through space. "Grandma always said that the best way to make friends was to share something you love. I never thought that would work with something from another world, let alone something older than our entire planet." Captain Rodriguez smiled, putting his arm around his daughter's shoulders. "Your grandmother would be proud. You've helped the whole galaxy remember something important." As more young civilizations arrived and the ancient species rediscovered their capacity for wonder, the space station became something unprecedented, not just a place of diplomacy but a school for the heart. The Starborn dragon had found its purpose again, teaching the galaxy's children how to reach across the vast distances between stars not with technology alone, but with the simple, powerful act of sharing what makes each species beautiful. Maya's lullabies had awakened more than just the dragon. They had awakened the galaxy's capacity for wonder, reminding everyone that the universe was vast enough to hold infinite possibilities for connection.